Hi guys, it's the 8th of February 2016 and one thing I can say about the year we've got coming is that superhero films are in abundance. So I decided to make a video of what I think will be my top 5 superhero films of 2016. I am going to go into a bit of detail about what could be potential plot lines, so for argument's sake, spoiler alert. So if you're still with me, let's get started. Number 5, Age of Apocalypse. I'm a huge fan of the X-Men films, old and new, and when I saw Days of Future Past, I felt like they had made the perfect X-Men film. At no point did it occur to me that they were simply setting up an even bigger film, but that is the promise made by Age of Apocalypse. The trailer hasn't given us much to go on, but they have made a few promises that fans have been waiting for, and I'm not referring to James McAvoy and his beautiful bald head. But here is the reason that the film isn't further up my list. Haven't we already seen how this film ends? At the end of Days of Future Past, Wolverine wakes up in the new future. We see a lot of characters are still alive, including Jean Grey, Scott Summers and Professor X. So doesn't that mean they survived the events of this film? Or do you think it was just a nice way to round out the end of the last one? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on that one down in the comments. Either way, getting to see Apocalypse, Psylocke and Gambit in this film should be enough to make any fan of the X-Men series desperate to see it. And I for one am very excited. Number 4, Batman vs Superman. This film is going to be huge, there is no doubt about it. You've got the two biggest characters in the DC universe coming together in the same film. I don't care if you're not the biggest Batman or Superman fan, you will still go and see this film just because it's never been done before. So the other hooks for the film consist of Batman and Superman facing off, the promise of seeing Wonder Woman for the first time, as well as seeing her team up with the two boys in capes, and a number of confirmed cameos from the soon-to-be members of the Justice League, such as The Flash, Aquaman and Cyborg, which is all really cool and I can't wait for it. But here's my biggest problem with this film. It's been overhyped. It's had too much time in the spotlight, and I feel like if you've been paying attention to what's happening around you, then you know way too much about the storyline of this film. I mean, the trailers have already shown us that Doomsday will be taking on the duo in what promises to be a very destructive battle, and thanks to the trailers we already know that Wonder Woman will play a part in that fight, possibly aiding to bring the two big guys closer together. But here's the one I feel the most annoyed about. They released images of toys from the film, and one of the toys being released is Lex Luthor in his power armor. So that's potentially the biggest reveal we had left ruined. Besides all that, I still think this film is going to be a spectacle to see, and I'm looking forward to seeing these characters together on the big screen. And with the promise of a Justice League film to follow, I hope DC does as well as Marvel did, taking their biggest team to the big screen. Number 3, Civil War. The third installment of the incredible Captain America series and its biggest story yet. I'm nothing if not excited for this film. The trailer looks amazing and the conflict between Steve and Tony has been brewing for quite some time. The biggest thing about this film for me is the real feeling of Cap's team being outmatched. Until the Super Bowl, we hadn't seen the two full teams facing off, but after the very brief look we got, Tony's team is way more powerful than Cap's, and for me that makes it all the more exciting. I'm really looking forward to seeing all the conflict in this film, as well as seeing how they play out. But even more than that, I'm looking forward to seeing Ant-Man in combat. Falcon has already discovered how tough he can be, and I think he could be a real turning point in this fight. The criticism for this film comes from the source material. Marvel's Civil War comic had a very different storyline to the one I feel we'll be seeing in this film. For one, it had a much bigger roster. Secondly, it centered around identity, whereas the film seems to be focusing more on doing what's right, as well as a strong feeling of friendship. The third and final point for why I think this film will differ from the comic is that at its core, it's a Captain America film, which means it'll center around Cap's point of view. Now, for me, that just makes it all the more exciting. I love Captain America, I love the films, and I think this is going to be the biggest and best installment so far. Number 2, The Suicide Squad. Okay, so tell me how you take a group of supervillains, get them to play hero and not make that entertaining. I think DC have hit the nail on the head with this one. They have a great track record with interesting villains, and they've got some of the best ones in this film. Now, I can't talk about this film without talking about some of the characters we're seeing for the first time on the big screen. Will Smith playing Deadshot is a highlight for me. I think Will Smith is great, and it makes sense to have him leading the charge. But having him playing Deadshot seems like a great match. So let's talk about Jai Courtney and Captain Boomerang. Now, if I'm honest, when I heard about this casting, I was unsure if it was the right way to go. Now, don't get me wrong, Jai Courtney is a great actor, but at the time I saw him more as a stoic action star until I saw the trailer. Now I'm stoked. I think he's going to be my favourite part of the film. Well, second favourite. This is it. For me, Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn is the greatest thing I could have imagined. She seems to have the character's take on crazy but fun down to a fine art, and there is no doubt in my mind I'm going to love every scene she is in. I would go and see this film for no other reason than this. I'm sold. Number 1, Deadpool. There was never going to be another film in my number 1 top spot. It just wasn't going to happen. Now, I'm sure there are 1,000,001 reasons why this film is going to be at the top of a lot of people's must-watch list, but here are some of mine. I love the character of Deadpool. There's no way around it. I think he is one of the funniest, most surprising and interesting characters that could possibly go to the big screen. And on top of that, there is no better character to try and start a chain of successful 18-rated superhero films. Ignoring Deadpool for a second, one of my other reasons for this film making my number 1 spot is Colossus. My favourite X-Man, both in comics and in the films, will be riding alongside Deadpool for this movie. And for me, there is something beautiful in that pairing. Plus, he's finally got his Russian accent back, of which I approve. The last thing I want to mention with regards to this film is the truly incredible job of marketing that has been done surrounding it. Forget for a second that there was a trailer and just think of everywhere you've seen this guy popping up, advertising the film, and in a unique way. Because Deadpool is able to break the fourth wall, he can actually tell you to go and watch his film. Genius. Truly. And I know I haven't mentioned Ryan Reynolds, but I think at this point he's going to stop being Ryan Reynolds and just be Deadpool all the time. He loves that character so much, and I love how passionate he is about playing him. In my opinion, these two are a match made in heaven, and I have no worries about this film at all. Well, maybe one. What am I going to do with my life once it's over? Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you liked this video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe to see more content. If you click on this link, you can see my last video. Also, you can follow me on Twitter here. Thanks guys, and see you later.